That, as DMX would say, where my dog's at. Good morning. Blessings. Welcome in, everyone. I want to greet you again with the utmost gratitude and appreciation for your being here, for your stopping in. How are we doing this morning? Are we ready to walk and talk? Are we ready to grow? Are we ready to understand what we need to do to be the best version of ourselves, to continue to develop in our sense of being? Continue to become stronger. Continue to grow our legacy, grow our wealth, grow with intention. Good morning. Where you checking in from? What time is it where you are? Talk to me, people. Let me know what's going on. How we doing today? Who's up? Who's ready? Move this back to 5 a.m. Let me get my shoes tied up. Remember, when you drop in, guys, wherever you're checking in from, make sure you drop in your location, what time it is, where you are, what your focus is, morning, noon, night. Let's be real. Let's be real. Let's be ready, people. Let's be real. Let's be ready. And thank you all for being here. Got to improve your perspective, man. We got to improve how we see what we see. We got to understand the difference between what we see and what we're being shown. We have to understand that perspective changes everything. It not only changes our belief in ourselves and our belief in our capability, but it also changes our way of engaging, our interaction, our belief in what's possible, and how we go about living in that belief and being a part of that reality. It requires for us to be continually focused on growth and development, people. Continuously focused on personal growth, personal work. How do we do that? We do it with discipline, people. Let's wake up. Let's be disciplined this morning. Let's be about our goal. Again, if you are checking in, please drop it to the chat where you're checking in from, what time it is, where you are. Welcome to the Wake Up, Walk and Talk. It is 5:07 a.m. East Coast time. Here is my mountaintop, people. Let's take a look. What's our perspective today, people? What are we looking at? How are we looking at it? And what do we see? Keep in mind, your perspective is not about what's in front of you. A person's perspective is not about what they're shown. It's about how we see what we're being shown. This is important. This is very different from what a lot of people may be used to or what a lot of people may encounter. Perspective is about how or where you're looking at what you're being shown, right? So the angle from which you're looking at it, from which you're approaching it, can vary. And that varying angle can give you, from that new perspective, it can give you a different view, a different opinion, a different ability to understand what it is you're looking at and what it is you're trying to do. That new perspective should also give you the strength, the empowerment, the courage to do more, to engage more, to be a part of solutions, to understand what's achievable and the work you need to do in order to achieve it. Good morning, Ron. How are you doing? Good morning. Good morning. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you for being here this morning again. I know it's early. It's 5 a.m. And I know for some of us, 5 a.m. can be a bit early. And then for others, 5 a.m. is just the right time. Good morning. For some, we're ending the day. For some, we're starting the day. So I'm adding this element of fitness to my walk that I need to get done in the morning. It's important that we are doing what's necessary to make sure we're continuing to grow. So I want to add some dynamics to it in the morning. So don't want to drop that camera while I'm doing it. So I'm gonna just take a moment to do some of these warm-up elements in the morning before I continue, guys. But I do want you to understand the importance of perspective and why perspective is so important. Because if we have the appropriate perspective in our life, if we're looking at things the correct way, as I shared with someone the other day, if we're looking at things correctly, we're not focusing on our problems. We're focusing on the solutions. If we spend too much time looking at what the problem is and not enough time looking at what the solution is to our problem, or working on finding the solution to that problem, then what's happening is we're moving away from our goal. Good morning. Good morning. Please let me know where you are, what time it is where you are, where you're checking in from. It's good to have you here this morning. So, how do we do that? How do we improve? Or how do we change our perspective? It's intentional. It's little things. Little things change our perspective, like approaching the day with gratitude, right? Those types of things change our perspective. Meaning, are we able to go into our day and see it as something positive? Do we have something to be thankful for and grateful for before something is done for us. Gratitude will immensely change your perspective, especially first thing in the morning, because the world will feed you constantly information that's designed to make you ungrateful, designed to create a incompleteness and a void in our life. But if we wake up with gratitude and we're appreciative, and this is a spiritual thing, this is going to start from a place of having both mental discipline and spiritual discipline to understand that for any purpose we may have, we are working towards an improvement in our current situation while appreciating our current situation. That's going to be important. What do we have there? Service, my Redeemer, welcome in. Redeemer, reflective perspective makes you effective. I like that. I like that. And that's going to be important, because a part of what we're looking at when we talk about perspective is just what you said there. It is reflective, right? Part of it is definitely going to have to be, how do you see yourself, right? Remember, we talk all the time about being self-aware and self-accountable. And so, how are you seeing yourself? Are you being too hard on yourself? Are you not being hard enough on yourself? Are you being honest with what you see? Can you accept that when you look at yourself, are you looking at yourself and looking to focus on the changes you're making in others and how you're amplifying change in other people's lives? Or when you use that reflective perspective, are you looking at yourself and on your growth and development and the things you need to do to continue to empower and grow and change your life? So perspective is going to definitely be important, but it's perspective in all areas. And this is one of the big things that can be a challenge, because you can't, because we grow up in a world, because we grow up just period, and behavior is learned, right? Because we grow up and we learn behavior, we can be given a perspective early on in our life. This is how things are. This is how things work. This is how people are. And every generation, I saw this recently, where every generation passes on to the next generation the things that they were taught in their generation, which no longer apply. So we have to be open to understanding that our perspective, my perspective of the world from 1985, I was 13 years old in 1985. My perspective of the world in 1985 we're not looking at the same world anymore. We're not looking at the same people. We're not looking at the same technology, the same cost of things, right? So those things change. So if I keep looking through the same lens at a world that has changed, I am being left behind. This is why I do not like putting people into groups. I do not like judging people in groups. And I do not like taking the mindset that things are hard written to be the way they are. We have to work with a growth mindset and understand that perspective is going to let us grow. We need to keep changing the way that we're looking at things. Not the way we're looking at them, but where we're looking at them from, right? We need to be able to move around the board, right? I don't know if we have any chess players out there, but one of the big things about chess is that you don't get up, that you don't move, that you don't walk around the board. And one of the major reasons for this is because if you do get up and you do move, and you look at the board from your opponent's perspective, you can get a view of something that you may not be able to see from your side of the board, right? So they lock you in. They're like, don't get up. You can't get up and walk around. Because you change your perspective, you gather a greater understanding. You can see things at a better angle. You can see them in a more, you can see them with greater clarity and have a better understanding of what the next moves and the next steps should be, right? And if they want to make the game of chess more difficult, what do? They take it from a flat board and they break the board apart into sections and they make it 3D. So now the levels, not only do you have to move in different directions, but you have to move on different levels, on different planes. And so now it becomes even more challenging. This is how important perspective is, people. And so how do we control our perspective? As I said before, perspective must be controlled through intentional thought. We have to wake up. We have to understand that we're going out into a world and we're going to see things in that world. We're going to be shown things. And we have to be prepared and we have to understand while we are out in this world that we have a purpose and a goal for our life. And that through discipline, through the discipline investment, we can achieve our goals. But it has to be done intentionally. So we have to understand using gratitude, living a life with gratitude, understanding that when we go into the world and we go out, that we are doing so intentionally to be rewarded for what we do, right? It's about building our life and our legacy. It's about being proactive in our behaviors. The next thing that we have to understand is that if we're going out and we're saying, hey, I don't want my perspective on work to be negative, then most of the time, and this is one of the greatest ways to change your perspective, is stop looking at work. Stop looking at your coworkers. Stop looking at your bosses and start looking at ourselves. How do I change my perspective at work? Look at who I am on the job, because it's what we have the greatest control over. Perspective is intentional. You have to get up, you have to move around. We have to stop taking everything at face value. Even, you don't have to take my word on it, question it, challenge it. Look at the opposite of it. Take a different perspective and then come from that different perspective and then research it, validate it, see if it's true for you. Check those things to make sure you can see what's going on and how it works for you, right? Why is that important? Because in having the appropriate perspective and in making that perspective strong and powerful and letting it empower you and create a place for you in your future and to have it help you achieve your goals and grow, you want to challenge it. You don't just want to add something to your life and say, hey, this is going to be better for me. No, look at it, see what it says. You want to give it a shot? Let's give it a shot. Maybe it works. Not everybody has a morning routine. Not everybody has the same morning routine. I believe in the value of having a morning routine. I understand the benefits that it can bring to your life. I know what intentional thought is. I know what it means to think about what it is you want to achieve and then focus on achieving those goals. I know what all of those things are and how they apply to my life, but we're not all living the same life, right? We don't all have the same goals. We're not all looking to achieve the same thing. That's why it's important for you to evaluate the information you receive and bring it into your life in the areas in which it's appropriate. Not just because someone said this is what you need to do, right? This is why is important. This is why, as a personal trainer, I would always speak to my clients and we would talk about, I would need for them. And this wasn't early on in my career. Early on in my career, here, pick it up, put it down, right? But then it became a point as I became more aware of what was going on, as I became more aware of how to train and the importance of being able to achieve benefits for the clients. As I went through that process, one of the things I also became aware of is that in order for me to do that, in order for me to be able to achieve at the highest level for my clients, I needed to be able to know why they were doing what they were doing to make sure that I was getting the most out of it for them and not just randomly taking action. Give me a moment, guys. Sorry about that, guys. Needed to send a quick message to the wife. We're both out and working this morning, getting things done. And so that's going to be important as we start to understand why, right? The why behind the reason that we do things will provide for us the perspective upon which to look at those things. And once we have that perspective, then we can make sure we're looking for and we're seeing the thing that's truly important for us to be able to see, right? Not just having stuff sit in front of us without having a reason or without understanding why we're even stopping to take a look. Serving, overcoming challenges, and the choices that we make. Let me see. In terms of what, serving? In terms of what? Overcoming challenges in the choices that we make. I understand the overcoming challenges. Talk to me a little bit more about what you mean in the choices that we make. Because I'm a firm believer that challenges come from a desire to grow. They're outside of being born with physical challenges that you will have to endure or overcome or live with in your life. Life generally does not present you with challenges. And that challenges come from seeking to achieve something, right? And so when you're seeking to achieve something, when you're seeking to obtain something or to reach a goal, that's where challenges come up. I'm also a believer that there is a difference between a choice and a decision. The primary one being that choices are usually limited and determined by outside factors, and that decisions require action, and that your decisions that have actions will create challenges, whereas your choices may present you with challenges for that option, but if you don't take action, you never really face that challenge, right? So it's as simple as, I usually use an example of choosing a meal, right? Are you choosing to, are you going to choose to cook in the house? Are you going to choose to order food out? So those are both choices, but you really haven't made a decision until you do either. So you can say, okay, well, I'm going to choose to eat in. I'm gonna cook myself a meal. But if you never get up and cook yourself a meal, there really wasn't a decision made. It was just a choice made. But that choice did not move you forward. That choice, that thought did not move you closer to either one of those two things. The only thing that will move you is to understand and be at that point where you're like, okay, well, not only is this my choice, but I'm gonna take action on it. And then you get up and you do something. And so you go to the kitchen and you start to cook that meal. Now, once you make decisions, right? Once you make a decision which will have action as part of it, once you take action, it will then at that point move you towards your goal. That action, that activity of decision making may present you with challenges. Oh man, I gotta wash the dishes because I didn't do so the last time I cooked in, which is why I was thinking about eating out. I have to see what's available. I have to understand there's a time commitment. There'll be other things that have to be a part of that thought process. And so there's a way of looking at it. However, again, this goes back to perspective, because why are we making this decision? Why are we choosing between the two? And then what's the outcome of the decision? And what's our perspective? So are we looking at it from the perspective of the cleaning that has to be done? Are we looking at it from the perspective of the fitness that we gain, or the healthy attributes of choosing to eat in versus eating out? Are we looking at it from the financial perspective? Like, what's our angle that we're looking at this from? And understanding the angle, understanding our perspective and the purpose for the decision for us changes everything. And it gives us a better way of being able to approach and attack this thing. But once we have the appropriate perspective, as I said before, it makes the decisions easier. It makes the achieving of the decision and the traveling a lot easier. You make it a choice to get up out of bed this morning and make the run as opposed to the alternatives. Exactly. This is who I am, and this is what I do. Right. So, right. But, and the only reason I meant, and this is a semantic thing for me, but I think it makes a distinct difference in terms of kind of qualifying it. And I agree with exactly what you're saying. You do have to make that choice. You have that choice of getting up or not getting up. And this is who I am and this is what I do becomes you. And so that's what strengthens and drives your perspective, is understanding these aren't like random things. This isn't like, oh, well, I'm up just because. And you're absolutely right about that. The distinction, however, between making a choice and making a decision is, when you make a choice, it really doesn't require you to do anything. Like, I chose to get up in the morning many months ago, right? And until I actually started getting up and doing it, then I wasn't doing it. Now, I had made the choice, and then we know where we focus our thought, our time, and our energy is what we'll do. It's the area in which we'll start to grow. So we can make the choice, but when we make the decision is when we get up and do it. And the reason I say that is because for so many of us, right? Because I always talk about discipline, repetition, patience, consistency, and perseverance. Once we get up and do it, it's now a decision. It's not a choice anymore. So we don't have to say, I'm trying to get up in the morning. No, that first morning that you get up, that first morning you sit up, you get out of bed and you're like, okay, I'm doing it. You're no longer trying to get up. You're getting up in the morning, right? And so when you're sitting there and you're like, okay, do I want to get up in the morning and go do this run? Do I want to get up in the morning and get out? Like, is that something I want to do? I can make that choice, right? I can choose to say, yes, I want to get up in the morning, I want to get out, I want to go do this run. And then I can turn around after I've made that choice and I can say, all right, oh, this morning's tough. I'm not going to make it. Oh, it's raining. Oh, whew, it's cold. Oh man, I stayed out too late. Like, we can start to have reasons. We can just walk away from it. We get the same way we chose to do it, we can choose not to do it, but it's really not a thing. It's not a decision until we take an action. So if I choose to say, I'm going to get out of bed, I make that choice, it becomes a decision. It becomes firm when it becomes actionable when I get out of the bed. I've done it. I'm doing it. I'm not trying to do this anymore. I'm not thinking about doing this anymore. I'm not like, I'm doing it. I get up early now, right? That first day. It doesn't matter. We don't have to think about whether or not we're going to be able to get up early tomorrow. We don't have to worry about, am I going to be able to get up early next week? I've made a choice to get up early, and I solidified that choice with the decision to actually do so. And now that I've solidified that choice with this decision and it's actionable, now I no longer have to say I'm trying to do something that I'm actively doing. And there will be challenges, which is why we have to understand our perspective is important. Because if we take the perspective of, oh man, I decided to do this, I told people about it, oh, now they're watching me, it creates challenges. And most of the challenges that we encounter will be mental and not physical. Most of our challenges will be challenges of perspective, challenges of knowledge, challenges of emotional challenges. Most of our challenges will not be actual physical challenges that require for us to take action. Most of them will be physical in nature. I mean, mental or emotional in nature and non-physical. So what does that mean for us? That means as we correct our perspective, which we've been talking about on the walk this morning, as we choose the perspective that gives us the ability to look at things in a direct, vision-driven, purpose-driven light, it will strengthen us and it will allow for us to become more powerful. Specifically in the area of being able to approach life with gratitude. And so for that, I think it's important that we continue to grow, we continue to work, we continue to focus on our development and understanding that living with discipline and the leadership competencies of personal awareness and personal accountability will make us stronger, it will help us grow, it will help us become a better understanding of ourselves and help us to enjoy and live life in a better way. I appreciate everyone for being here this morning. I thank you so much for coming on the Walk and Talk. As always, guys, God bless. Have a great day.